When I was in second grade, early one morning, a teacher from a different classroom had came into our classroom, and she had whispered something to my teacher. And before I knew it, both of them looked very sad and were on the verge of tears. And later that day, we learned the magnitude of what had happened. There had been a bombing in the Murrah building in Oklahoma City. I didn't really understand what bombing meant. I just knew that a lot of people died, and it made a lot of my teachers sad. And that was the extent I knew about it at the time. But I don't know why I can still remember that event, even though I didn't realize the magnitude of what had happened. Okay, fast forward a few years. I was going to college part time now. One day, my mom and I had gone to the financial aid office, and we saw everybody glued to the television set, and we had to wait a while. And we were wondering what was going on. Maybe there was some kind of sports event, or because it wasn't election year. There wasn't anything weird going on around the news around that time. And then finally, a professor that my mom knew very well happened to see us, and he screamed, "Did you hear what happened in New York today?" And he explained that two airplanes had flown into the World Trade Center. And even then, we were in such disbelief that we thought it was an accident, even though it was two airplanes by the time he had mentioned it to us. And later that day, obviously, classes were canceled for the rest of the day. And on my way home, my mom actually stopped at a Joann's fabric store. I guess she was trying to take her mind off of it. I don't even know why that store was open for the rest of the day. Okay, a year and a half later, it's a Saturday morning. I used to make it a habit to stay up really late on Friday nights. And eventually I started staying up so late that sometimes on Friday night I didn't even sleep at all. And I think that was the case on this day. And it was a Saturday morning. I had stayed up, it was in the winter time. And for some reason that day, I just had a bad feeling that I was going to see something weird today. I used to love to watch unsolved mysteries, and I had big fears of seeing the Loch Ness Monster or seeing a UFO or what else, ghosts, or or maybe going out and running into a serial killer and being a part of an unsolved murder. So I just had a big fear that Saturday morning. I don't even know what drove it. I turn on the news, and sure enough, a UFO crashed from the sky. A man-made UFO, Space Shuttle Columbia, had crashed. Um, and so I distinctly remember, and after it was good because after that, I had a bad feeling about staying up late on Friday nights. Of course, now that it's been some time since that event, my sleep schedule has been a mess again. Okay, a few more years later, now I'm working on my PhD in Rochester, New York. And I used to love to collect coins. I wasn't involved in very high value coins. I was buying junk silver for the most part. And one day, the price of silver had crashed a lot. And I was very happy about it because I was buying for the long term. It wasn't like yes, I might have had some silver coins and lost some of my, well, on paper at least, right? Lost hundreds or even thousands of dollars. I was buying for the long term. And even at a young age, I knew that concept. And so I was at the coin dealer, and naively, I thought you could use a credit card at the coin dealer because it was a large amount that I wanted to buy. And he explained that the reason he doesn't take credit cards is because uh, uh, bullion coins like that have such a low, razor thin margin. He would have to charge a whole lot more if he took the credit card. And so I was riding a bicycle at the time. And given how much silver prices had crashed that day, I really didn't want to miss that opportunity. So I rode my bicycle all around town looking for the ATM, and I used to be really cheap, and I didn't want to pay an ATM fee. And when I asked people where, I think I was using a Bank of America at the time, where the Bank of America ATM is, and this guy, he thought it was funny because the nearest one was like 5 miles away. And I didn't care. I actually wanted, even though I was on a bicycle, he says, "Are you kidding me? You're going to ride your bicycle 5 miles each way?" I said, "Sure." And so he finally gives me the directions, and he just thinks I'm crazy. I get to the ATM, I get the money, I go back to the dealer, and I buy the coins. And I'm so relieved I got that opportunity. I didn't want it to slip by. And I rode my bicycle back to campus. And my professor, one of my professors was talking to my advisor, and there was this huge commotion. He explained that earlier in the day, the stock market was crashing and the Lehman Brothers had been bailed out. That was the first time I ever heard the concept of bailing out a financial institution. All I knew was I got some cheap silver. I was immature at the time. I thought that stuff, the other stuff about the market could wait, as long as I got my silver. Okay, 12 years later, I got to take advantage of the market again. One day I had gone to the coffee shop, and they had boxed off every other seat and explained that we needed to practice social distancing. But the coffee shop was still open. And it seemed like, well, okay, we'll be a little bit more careful. I kind of like social distancing anyway, because I have food allergies. Sometimes people eat something really dusty, they get it all over their hands, right? And then they go like this, right? And especially if I did, we also learned that we shouldn't be shaking hands anymore. That's real nice. I can't count how many times somebody has something dusty on their hands and I shake them, and then I have to go wash my hands. And sometimes if it's at a job interview, and I shake hands with them, and I can't excuse myself to go wash my hands. And I just got to be careful not to touch anything else and not to put my hands in my mouth. And now everybody's practicing that. I got really excited. And then later that day, I don't know why the coffee shop was still open at this time, but later that day, I heard in a number of other cities, stores had closed down, and Seattle might be next. And next thing I know, the markets were tanking all over the place, and silver followed suit. And unfortunately, I went to multiple silver dealers online to look for silver. They were all out. I finally find one, and they needed to confirm a ton of information just to make sure I was who I said I was. There was a lot of fraud at the time. And at first, I worried my life would be over. I actually, that first week of the quarantine, I got so concerned that I started writing a lot. I started composing letters to everybody I knew, just in case I would have a mental breakdown and something were to happen to myself. And I eventually deleted everything I wrote, because I wrote that with the idea that I might not survive. And so I deleted it, and no, that was that. But eventually, I came to like the quarantine because it became a good opportunity for me to resolve a few things, especially make lifestyle changes that were kind of hard to do when things were chugging along. Right, you got to mingle with other people, changing your eating habits, your sleep habits. Sometimes this takes a back burner to all that. Right. Anyway, so that's in a nutshell all the big memories that I have of what I was doing when big events happened. How many people here remember Space Shuttle Challenger and maybe JFK? What else has gone on? There was other rioting in the 60s, right? The Nixon shock, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, although that wasn't a very dramatic event in most people's lives, right? I'm trying to remember. I think most of my viewers are probably after World War II. Reagan's assassination attempt, right? Oh, the Berlin Wall, obviously. Leave a comment if you can remember what you were doing when those things went down. Thanks for watching.